Yeah. Um, I know when I started, oh yeah, I just wanted to mention a certain number of things that I would like to do. Yeah. The Supreme Court of the United States, yes. I had put a picture of a cell hearing that I was going to, yes. And I was the crazy one, you remember that? But this criminal complaint process where the prosecuting attorney took it upon themselves, yeah. Just so that I know, were the restraint provisions violated because I never saw a signed statement? Yeah, I didn't see any emails. Poop. But he did mention, yes, while in court, Brett Roberts, yes, that I had said that I wanted to blow her face off. Poop. Now, since I wasn't in Brennan, yeah, and I didn't send any emails to the Brennan or Quilcene school districts, yes, and I found out when I went to that court hearing in Port Townsend, yeah, where you dismissed the case for my incompetence, that my sons are in the wrong grades and they've been in the wrong grades for 7.5 years. Yeah. Now I know they probably were like, oh my gosh, my dad's in jail again. The emotional grief and trauma that my sons have experienced would add up to, well, it would add to, yeah, the damages, which of them having to find out that their father went to jail for theft too, yes, without a warrant from oath or affirmation, yes. Now I know you said, well, I'm sorry, it was mistaken identity, but I have to think about the emotions of my sons and all of the fear and the thought that their father had succumbed to the temptation of stealing something of value greater than $750 when all he had when he went to jail was $5.35 in his pocket. And he keeps making all these fucking videos about not having any money. Now I'm going to have to sue you, Quilcene and Brennan and all the other school districts and the civil rights coordinators for the emotional pain and suffering that my sons have experienced because of the false arrest, the violating of the Fourth Amendment, yes, and the whole thought that you're just not going to enforce the laws. Now, if I was able to speak to them, yes, I'd take each one of them aside and I'd say, Bishop, didn't you just weep and groan inside and travail at the loss of your father going to prison again, knowing they'd give him another? I know. I feel your grief, Bishop. I feel it. Feel it. Feel it. And then there's Zachary, that big football player. Yes, I had told the coach of the University of Washington, why don't you get me the coaches again of all those athletic departments of every college and university? And they didn't want to have law enforcement enforce the actual fraud laws, kidnapping, child abduction, and abuse and neglect of children that are in the wrong grades. Now they're liable for the false arrest, the violating of the Fourth Amendment, and all the pain and suffering that caused my son Zachary. Then there's Deacon. My sons have suffered. Not only the humiliation of me of being arrested at the library, but the thought that you imbeciles that happen to be attorneys that had signed attorney oaths that you would support the laws of the state of Washington. Can you use an attorney as an oath or affirmation, or does it have to be a subscribed and sworn oath of affirmation that those that are elected are appointed? I, as a father, I feel a connection to my sons, though I've not been able to speak to them for 7.5 years. And a lot of people say, well, why don't you stop making these videos? And I thought, no, why don't I get a few $100 million more for my sons? And they thought they would get to keep the money, but as their father, I told them I'd give them $10 allowance every month once I'm able to.